The lilacs were in bloom when Anna Mitchell realized that nothing in her life had gone according to plan. Madison, Wisconsin, was bathed in late spring sunlight, but inside the small duplex she shared with her mother, there was little warmth. At 24, Anna was already the mother of a 1-year-old boy, Liam, and the sole provider for a family that felt both fragile and fiercely bound together. Most mornings began the same way, with Liam's laughter echoing from the nursery and Anna watching him with a mix of exhaustion and awe. He was the reason she got out of bed, the reason she pushed forward even when everything in her past told her to give up. But it hadn't always been this way. 2 years earlier, Anna had been a junior at the University of Wisconsin, majoring in accounting, with dreams of becoming a CPA and working in one of Madison's downtown firms. She had fallen hard for Maxim, charming, confident, the kind of boy who promised her a future full of light. They had spent countless nights talking about shared dreams and whispered vows of forever. And then the test turned positive. She remembered the day she told him with sickening clarity. They had met in his car after class, and she had barely gotten the words out before his face twisted with rage. "You did this on purpose, didn't you?" he snapped. "You're trying to trap me." She had begged him to listen, told him she loved him, that they could figure it out together. But he was already pulling a crumpled envelope from his jacket. Money, tossed into her lap without a word of comfort. "Take care of it," he'd said coldly. "I'm not ready to ruin my life." Then he was gone. No calls, no messages, just silence. Anna had cried until her body ached. She couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, and more than anything, she was terrified, not of raising a child alone, but of telling her parents. She expected disappointment, anger, maybe even rejection. But when she finally confessed, sobbing in the kitchen one Sunday night, her father had simply taken her trembling hands in his. "You're my daughter," he said softly, "and that's my grandchild. We'll get through this. Together." Her mother, Evelyn, had been harder to convince. The shame, the whispers from neighbors, the thought of her daughter's life being ruined. It was too much at first. For weeks, Evelyn barely spoke to Anna except in clipped, practical sentences. But slowly, inevitably, the anger melted into something else. Evelyn began knitting baby blankets. She started leaving plates of food by Anna's door. And on the day Liam was born, she was the first to hold him, tears streaming down her face as she whispered apologies into his tiny ear. Liam changed everything. His giggles filled the house with joy, and his tiny fingers wrapped around Anna's heart. Even Maxim's betrayal faded into a dull scar. They were a family, imperfect, patched together, but whole. And then life dealt another blow. When Liam turned 1, Anna's father collapsed at the distribution warehouse where he worked the night shift. A massive stroke, the doctor said. It was quick. He was gone before the ambulance arrived. The funeral was a blur of rain and condolences, but nothing drowned out the emptiness that settled over their home. Without him, the house felt colder, quieter. Evelyn tried to be strong, but Anna saw the fear in her eyes, fear of bills piling up, of mortgage payments, of a future they weren't ready for. Anna promised herself she'd carry them both now. She had to, but even that promise was about to be tested. A month after the funeral, as Liam napped in his crib and Anna sat surrounded by unpaid medical bills, her phone buzzed with a number she didn't recognize. "Anna Mitchell," a clipped male voice asked. "This is Samuel Carter. I'm the new director at Midstate Financial." She straightened in her chair. "Yes, Mr. Carter. What can I do for you?" "Your maternity leave ended 2 weeks ago," he said. "I expect you back in the office Monday. If you're not here, I'll have to consider your position terminated." The line went dead before Anna could explain, before she could say that her father had died, that her mother was still grieving, that Liam was barely toddling. She stared at the phone, numb. Samuel Carter was a name she had heard whispered with both respect and fear in the office. A brilliant but ruthless businessman who'd built his reputation on turning struggling companies into success stories. and now he was her boss. Anna looked toward Liam's crib, at the soft rise and fall of his chest as he slept. She felt her father's absence, like a weight pressing on her chest. She didn't know how she was going to do it, how she'd leave her son, how she'd hold her mother together, how she'd survive the storm that was coming. But she knew one thing for certain. She didn't have a choice. The night before Anna returned to work, she and her mother sat in the small kitchen long after Liam had fallen asleep. The scent of chamomile tea hung in the air, but neither of them drank much. Evelyn traced the rim of her mug in silence before finally speaking. "I don't like this," she said quietly. "He's still so little. You shouldn't have to leave him yet." Anna rubbed her temples. "I don't like it either, Mom. But we don't have a choice. The bills are piling up, and my job is all we have left." Evelyn sighed, the lines around her eyes deepening. "Then I'll retire. It's earlier than I planned, but I'll do it. I'll stay home with Liam, so you don't have to worry." Anna looked at her, startled. "Mom, you don't have to. I want to," Evelyn interrupted gently. "Your father would want me to. You need to focus on building a life for you and your son. Let me take care of him." Tears stung Anna's eyes. For the first time in weeks, she felt like maybe, just maybe, they might survive this storm. The following Monday, Madison greeted her with a cold drizzle and a heavier heart than she'd expected. Anna stood at the glass doors of Midstate Financial for a long moment before walking inside, the familiar hum of printers and keyboards both comforting and overwhelming. It had been more than a year since she'd last been here, and in that time, everything had changed. Samuel Carter had taken over as director, and his reputation preceded him. The office that once felt like a second home now pulsed with an undercurrent of tension. By noon, Anna felt like she was drowning. Reports from the last fiscal quarter were scattered and incomplete. Deadlines loomed like storm clouds, and her inbox overflowed with unanswered emails. Every time she thought she had caught up, someone dropped another stack of files on her desk. Worse still, Samuel appeared out of nowhere, tall, immaculately dressed, and terrifyingly composed, scanning her work with a critical eye. "There's a calculation error here," he said at one point, tapping the page with a pen. "Double-check it before it leaves this office." His tone wasn't cruel, but it left no room for mistakes. Anna apologized and fixed the mistake, though her hands shook as she typed. Days blurred together in a haze of long hours and mounting pressure. By Friday evening, most of the staff had gone home, but Anna was still at her desk, the glow of the monitor casting tired shadows across her face. She was so absorbed in the numbers that she didn't notice Samuel standing by the door until he cleared his throat. "It's after 8, he said. "Why are you still here?" Anna looked up, startled. "I just need to finish this report. It's been delayed since before my leave, and "You've done enough for today," he interrupted. "Come on. I'll drive you home." The offer caught her off guard. Samuel was known for his distance, polite but impersonal. The idea of sitting in a car with him felt almost absurd, but he was already holding the door open, and arguing seemed pointless. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets slick and glistening under the streetlights. They drove in silence for several minutes, the only sound the hum of the engine and the soft patter of tires on wet pavement. Finally, Samuel spoke. "You mentioned your father passed recently." His tone was softer than she expected. Anna hesitated. "Yes, he had a stroke at work a few months ago. It was sudden." "I'm sorry," Samuel said simply. "That must have been difficult." Anna stared out the window. "It still is. My mom's doing her best, but it's hard without him. And raising Liam on my own," she trailed off, realizing she'd said more than she meant to. Samuel didn't reply immediately. He glanced at her briefly, then back at the road. "You're stronger than you realize." They pulled up to her duplex a few minutes later. The porch light flickered faintly, and she could see her mother's silhouette in the window, rocking Liam to sleep. Anna reached for the door handle, ready to mumble a quick thank you and escape the strange intimacy of the moment. But Samuel's voice stopped her. Anna, he said, his gaze steady on the windshield. I have a proposal for you. One that might sound unusual. She turned to him, confused. I need a family, he said plainly. A wife. A child. The company is entering a major partnership, and investors are traditional. They want stability, a family man at the helm. I don't have that. Anna blinked, not sure she was hearing him right. What are you saying? Samuel's expression didn't waver. I want you to marry me. Not for love. Not for romance. For 2 years. It would be a legal marriage, and I would adopt your son. In return, I'd ensure your financial security, yours and Liam's for life. For a moment, the world seemed to tilt. Anna stared at him, speechless, as rainwater dripped from the eaves outside. She had expected many things that night. Criticism, maybe even a lecture. But not this. Not a marriage proposal from a man she barely knew. Anna stared at him as if he had spoken a different language. Marry you? She repeated, her voice trembling. Are you out of your mind? Her heart hammered against her ribs, her palms damp. This is insane, Samuel. You barely know me. I barely know you. He didn't flinch. I know enough, he said calmly. I know you're hardworking, that you're a devoted mother, that you understand sacrifice, and that's exactly the kind of person I need by my side. Anna shook her head, fumbling for the door handle. This is ridiculous. I'm not going to sell myself to solve your PR problem. Samuel's tone remained steady, but there was a steel edge beneath it. This isn't about selling yourself. This is a business arrangement. Nothing more. No physical relationship, no emotional obligations. 2 years of marriage, and then we go our separate ways. In exchange, I'll make sure Liam is financially secure for the rest of his life. College, healthcare, trust fund. Everything. The words hung heavy in the air, and for the first time Anna couldn't immediately dismiss them. Still, she pushed the door open and stepped out into the cool night air. I need to go, she said quietly. Samuel didn't stop her. Think about it, he replied. I'll need an answer tomorrow. Anna walked into the house in a daze. Evelyn looked up from the couch, a question on her lips, but Anna brushed past her, mumbling that she was tired. In Liam's room, the soft night light cast a golden glow across his sleeping face. She sank into the chair beside his crib, her mind spinning. It was madness. Of course it was. Who marries their boss in exchange for financial security? What would people think? What would it do to Liam when he was old enough to understand? And yet she thought of the hospital bills still unpaid from her father's stroke, of the mounting mortgage, the daycare costs she couldn't afford, the future she desperately wanted to build for her son but had no idea how. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. Words spoken on the night she told him about the pregnancy. You're stronger than you think, Anna, and you'll do whatever it takes for that child. I know you will. Tears blurred her vision as she watched Liam's chest rise and fall. What would you do, Dad? She whispered. Would you hate me if I said yes? The creak of the door broke her thoughts. Evelyn stood there, her face pale and drawn. What did he say? She asked, suspicion already brewing in her tone. Anna hesitated, then told her everything. For a long moment, Evelyn said nothing. Then she erupted. Absolutely not, she snapped. You will not marry that man like some transaction. This isn't a solution, Anna, it's selling yourself. I know how it sounds, Anna said, her voice breaking. But he's not asking for a real marriage. He said there won't be anything physical, no strings attached. It's just a contract. A contract. Evelyn repeated bitterly. And what happens after 2 years? What happens when he decides he wants something more or changes his mind? You'd be trapped in his world, his rules. Anna buried her face in her hands. Do you have a better idea, Mom? Because I don't. I've been trying so hard, but it's never enough. And this could give Liam everything I can't. Evelyn's anger slowly dissolved into despair. She crossed the room and wrapped her arms around her daughter. I just don't want you to regret it, she whispered. I don't want you to lose yourself. Anna barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw two futures. One where she said no and continued scraping by, and one where she said yes and changed Liam's life forever. By dawn, she had made her choice. The next morning, she met Samuel in his office. He looked up from his desk as she stepped inside, his expression unreadable. I'll do it, she said simply. For Liam. A flicker of something, relief, maybe even admiration, crossed his face. Then we should get started. There are legal documents to prepare, and we'll need to make this official quickly. And one more thing, he added, his gaze steady. No one, not even your mother, can know the truth. To everyone else, this will be real. Anna hesitated but nodded. I understand. That afternoon, they walked into the Dane County Courthouse and signed the paperwork that made them husband and wife. The process was surprisingly swift. A signature here, a witness there. And just like that, Anna's life was no longer her own. News spread like wildfire. By the next morning, local business journals blared the headline, Billionaire Samuel Carter marries single mother. Love story or strategic move? Social media exploded with speculation. Some called it romantic. Others mocked her as a gold digger. Anna tried not to read any of it. But walking into the office that week, she felt every pair of eyes on her, heard every whispered word that stopped when she passed. And though she told herself this was for Liam, that she had done the right thing, a small, frightened voice inside her whispered that she had just made a deal with the devil. 3 weeks later, Anna stood beneath a canopy of crystal chandeliers, her hand tucked into Samuel Carter's as 100 cameras flashed around them. The ballroom of Madison's most exclusive hotel was drenched in white roses and golden light, a stage set for a fairy tale she wasn't sure she believed in. Samuel's hand tightened briefly around hers, a subtle signal, and she turned toward him, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. The officiant's words blurred into background noise. All Anna could feel was the weight of every gaze in the room. Investors, journalists, distant relatives of Samuel she'd never met. When the time came, Samuel leaned in and brushed his lips against hers, gentle but deliberate. The crowd erupted in applause. Anna smiled for the cameras again, even as her chest tightened. Each time their hands brushed or he leaned close to whisper something for the photographers, she reminded herself this was what she'd agreed to, a role, a performance. Later that evening, in the limousine back to his estate, Samuel outlined the story they would tell. We met a few years ago, he said, his tone calm and practiced. We dated quietly, broke up, and then reconnected last year. Liam is our son. We simply wanted privacy before now. Anna stared at the passing city lights. And people will believe that. Samuel's mouth twitched. People believe what they're told often enough. And if they don't, it won't matter. Perception is what counts. 2 days after the ceremony, Anna and Liam moved into Samuel's home, a sprawling colonial-style estate on the edge of Lake Mendota. It was beautiful and suffocating all at once, with polished floors that echoed under her footsteps and walls lined with art worth more than she'd ever earned in her life. Samuel insisted she resign from Midstate Financial, saying it would raise questions if his wife continued to work for him. You don't need to worry about money, he told her. Just focus on Liam, and on making this arrangement look real. So Anna settled into a new rhythm. Mornings were spent preparing Liam's breakfast and reading him stories in the sunlit nursery. Afternoons passed with long walks through the estate's manicured gardens or quiet trips to the library, where Samuel's shelves held more books than she could count. Evenings were the hardest. Dinners with Samuel at a long mahogany table where conversation rarely strayed beyond polite pleasantries. Despite the distance between them, Samuel had begun watching her differently. He noticed the way she soothed Liam's cries with a soft hum, how she bent down to tie his tiny sneakers before their walks, how she laughed. Genuinely, when Liam took his first wobbly steps across the living room floor. Those small, ordinary moments unsettled something in him. One night, after dinner, he lingered by the doorway as Anna cleaned up Liam's toys. "You're good with him," he said quietly. She glanced up, surprised. "I'm his mother. It's what I do." "No," Samuel said, shaking his head. "It's more than that. You're patient, gentle. It's something I never saw growing up." Anna studied him for a moment. He was still in his suit from work, his tie loosened, his expression softer than usual. "You didn't have that kind of childhood?" she asked. Samuel gave a humorless laugh. "Not exactly. My father was a lawyer, brilliant but cold. My mother spent most of my childhood trying to pretend we were perfect. And he trailed off, his jaw tightening. I repeated their mistakes." It was the first time he had spoken of his past, and once he started, the words spilled out like a confession. His first marriage had ended when he discovered his wife had been having an affair with his closest friend. The child he had loved as his own turned out not to be his. "I forgave her," he said bitterly, but she left anyway. Said I was too broken to love. His second marriage was worse. She wanted my name, my money, and when I wouldn't give her everything, she sold stories to the tabloids. Said I was impotent, that I couldn't have children. The rumor spread, poisoning business deals and friendships alike. Anna felt a pang of sympathy. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "No one deserves that." Samuel gave a faint shrug, though his eyes betrayed the old wound. "It taught me not to trust, and it taught me that the right image, is everything. That's why I needed this." His gaze met hers, steady and unflinching. "I needed a family, a woman people could believe in, and a child to make them stop whispering." Anna's throat tightened. "And you think I can give you that?" "I don't think," Samuel said softly. "I know." For a long moment, they simply looked at each other, the silence stretching between them. Somewhere upstairs, Liam stirred and began to cry. Anna excused herself and hurried toward the nursery, her heart beating faster than before. Samuel remained by the doorway long after she disappeared, the sound of her footsteps fading into the quiet halls. He had built his empire on control, on calculated decisions and cold logic. But this woman and her child, was something he hadn't planned for, and that terrified him more than he cared to admit. By the time autumn settled over Madison, life in the Carter household had found a quiet, careful rhythm. Liam was thriving, babbling words that melted Samuel's heart and toddling after him through the house on chubby legs. Anna had grown more at ease in her role too, though she still felt like she was playing a part whenever they stepped into public together. That illusion was tested one crisp Saturday evening when Samuel appeared in the doorway of the library, a glass of scotch in hand. "There's a birthday party for one of our partners next weekend," he said casually. "I'd like you to come." Anna looked up from the book she was reading to Liam and hesitated. "Do I have to?" "It would mean a lot," Samuel replied, and though his tone was light, she knew it wasn't a request. "They'll expect to see us together. A united front." She nodded, her stomach twisting. Fancy parties and expensive dresses still felt like foreign territory. But a week later, she found herself standing in front of a mirror, smoothing the skirt of a deep emerald gown as Samuel adjusted his cufflinks beside her. "You look beautiful," he said simply. At the hotel ballroom, chandeliers glowed like captured stars and waiters floated by with trays of champagne. Samuel slipped a hand lightly around her waist, a gesture for appearances, she reminded herself, and guided her into the crowd. They exchanged pleasantries with investors and partners, smiling for photos, laughing at jokes neither found funny. It was almost tolerable until she heard a voice she hadn't heard in over 2 years. "Anna." Her blood ran cold. She turned, and the champagne flute nearly slipped from her fingers. Maxim. He looked almost the same, a little older, a little more polished. But those same sharp eyes widened as he took her in. "It really is you." She froze. I didn't expect to see you here. I didn't expect to see you on Samuel Carter's arm, he said with a wry smile. Quite the upgrade, isn't it? Her stomach churned. Samuel noticed the tension immediately and stepped closer. Is everything all right? Maxim extended a hand, feigning politeness. Maxim Turner, an old friend. Anna couldn't breathe. Every cell in her body screamed to get away. Samuel, can we leave? She whispered. Samuel's brows furrowed, but he didn't question her. Of course. He gave Maxim a curt nod and guided Anna toward the exit. She didn't exhale until the cool night air hit her face. They drove in silence for a few minutes before Samuel spoke. Who was he? Anna stared out the window, her fingers twisting in her lap. Liam's father. The words hung between them like a ghost. Samuel didn't speak, just listened as Anna's voice trembled through the story. The love she believed in, the betrayal that shattered it, the night Maxim shoved money into her hands and told her to take care of it. She told him about the shame, the fear of telling her parents, the grief of losing her father, and the long, lonely months that followed. Tears streaked down her cheeks by the time she finished. I hate that he still has that power over me, she whispered. Just seeing him, it's like I'm 20 again and completely worthless. Samuel reached over and gently brushed a tear from her cheek. You are not worthless, he said, his voice low and fierce. And he has no power over you anymore. I won't let anyone hurt you. Not him. Not anyone. Anna looked at him then, really looked at him, at the man who had once seemed cold and distant but now held her gaze with such fierce tenderness it stole her breath. The air between them shifted, and before she could think better of it, Samuel leaned in and kissed her. It wasn't calculated or staged for cameras. It was soft, searching, and real. And this time she didn't pull away. She kissed him back, her hands trembling as they cupped his face, her heart pounding with something that felt terrifyingly like hope. When they parted, Samuel's voice was barely a whisper. Anna, I don't want this to be a contract anymore. I don't want to pretend. Her breath hitched. What are you saying? I'm saying I love you, he said. I want this marriage to be real. I want us to be real. Tears welled in her eyes again, but this time they weren't from pain. They were from the startling, overwhelming realization that she felt the same way. Somewhere along the way, between the shared meals, the quiet nights, the small acts of kindness, she had fallen in love with him too. I love you, she whispered. I think I have for a while now. The relief in Samuel's eyes was palpable. He reached for her hand and held it tightly. Then let's stop pretending, he said. Let's build something real for Liam and for us. Anna nodded, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. For the first time in years, the future didn't feel like something she had to survive. It felt like something she wanted to run toward. And as the lights of Madison blurred past the car windows, Anna knew that whatever came next, they would face it as a family, not a contract, not an arrangement, but something real. Summer wrapped Madison in a golden haze, and with it came a kind of happiness Anna had never known before. Days in the Carter household had taken on a rhythm that felt natural, almost effortless. Samuel was no longer just the man who shared her home. He was her partner in every sense. He helped with bedtime routines, read Liam stories with exaggerated voices that made the boy giggle uncontrollably, and joined their Sunday morning pancake rituals without fail. Somewhere along the way, the word slipped from Liam's mouth, tentative at first, then stronger the second time. Dad. Anna froze when she heard it. Samuel, too. He blinked in disbelief before scooping Liam into his arms, holding him close. What did you say, buddy? He whispered, his voice rough with emotion. Dad, Liam repeated, as if testing the word on his tongue. And Samuel, who had once sworn he would never let himself hope for that kind of bond again, pressed his face into the boy's hair and let out a shaky breath. Later that night, Anna found him sitting quietly in Liam's room, watching their son sleep. I never thought I'd have this, he said softly. Not after everything. She rested her head on his shoulder. You deserve it, she murmured. Both of us do. But outside the warm cocoon of their home, shadows had begun to stir. Maxim Turner hadn't forgotten Anna. In fact, he had been thinking about her ever since that night at the party. Curiosity turned to obsession once he started digging. A few well-placed questions revealed that Anna Mitchell was now Anna Carter, living in one of Madison's most expensive neighborhoods and raising a son who looked suspiciously like him. The realization hit Maxim like a lightning bolt. The boy was his. And if that was true, then Anna had stolen his child, and possibly his ticket to a fortune. One humid afternoon, as Anna left a grocery store with a bag of fresh produce balanced on her hip, she noticed a familiar figure leaning casually against a lamppost. Her heart sank. Maxim. Anna, he called, stepping toward her with a disarming smile. It's been a long time. She tightened her grip on the bag. What do you want? To talk, he said. I heard you're doing well. Big house. Rich husband. Adorable little boy. His eyes gleamed. Our boy. The words made her stomach twist. He's not your anything, she said coldly. You made your choice when you walked away. Maxim chuckled, though there was no warmth in it. I was young. Stupid. I made a mistake. But I want to see him. I have a right to. You have no right, Anna snapped, her voice low but firm. Liam has a father, and it's not you. His smile vanished, replaced by a sneer. You think Carter makes you untouchable? He's not even the boy's real father. I could take this to court. I will take this to court. Anna turned and walked away without another word, but her hands were trembling by the time she reached the car. That night, she told Samuel what had happened. His jaw tightened as he listened. He approached you? He asked, struggling to keep his voice calm. Anna nodded. He said he'd go to court, that he wants to claim Liam. Samuel's eyes darkened. He abandoned you both. He has no legal standing. But if he tries, we'll fight. 3 days later, the past came roaring into their present. Evelyn called, her voice shaking. Anna, have you seen the paper? She asked. The Tribune. It's everywhere. Anna pulled the site up on her phone, and her stomach dropped. The headline screamed across the screen. Is billionaire Samuel Carter's perfect family built on a lie? The article dredged up the ugliest chapter of Samuel's past. The rumors about his infertility, the betrayals that had nearly destroyed him. It questioned whether Liam could possibly be his biological son and hinted that Anna had entrapped him with another man's child. Anonymous sources speculated that a custody battle was brewing and that Maxim Turner, the biological father, was preparing legal action. Anna's vision blurred as she scrolled. Oh, God, she whispered. Evelyn's voice cracked on the other end. They're going to tear you apart, sweetheart. Him too. Samuel found her in the kitchen, phone still clutched in her hand. I saw it, he said quietly. His face was unreadable, but the pain in his eyes was unmistakable. This is exactly what he wants, to humiliate us before he even steps into a courtroom. Anna's knees buckled, and Samuel caught her before she hit the floor. I can't go through this again, she whispered into his chest. Not him. Not the lies. He held her tighter. You're not alone this time, he said, his voice steady despite the storm brewing around them. He wants a fight? Then we'll give him one. And we'll win. But as he spoke, Anna knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. The man who had once shattered her life was back. And this time, he wasn't just after her heart. He was coming for her son. By the time autumn leaves began to blanket Madison streets, the storm Maxim had promised was already raging. A month after his confrontation with Anna, a thick envelope arrived by certified mail, a petition filed with the family court of Dane County. Maxim Turner was suing for paternity testing and visitation rights. Within hours of the filing, local news stations were buzzing. Reporters parked vans outside the Carter estate. Tabloids speculated about the billionaire's secret scandal, and online forums swelled with cruel theories about Anna's past. Samuel read the petition in silence, his jaw tightening with every page. He wants a DNA test, he muttered, and visitation, as if he's earned either. He slammed the document shut. Over my dead body. Their attorney, Laura Bennett, urged calm. Rage won't win this. Evidence will, she said. We'll fight this on two fronts. First, we'll show he legally abandoned his parental rights when he offered Anna money to terminate the pregnancy and disappeared. Second, we'll finalize the adoption paperwork. Once that's complete, Samuel's parental rights will be stronger than Maxim's ever were. Anna swallowed hard. Can we really stop the DNA test? Yes, Laura replied. The court doesn't grant them automatically. If we can prove that Maxim forfeited his rights and is only resurfacing now for financial reasons, the judge can deny his request entirely. In the weeks leading up to the hearing, Samuel and Anna endured relentless public scrutiny. Paparazzi hounded them outside grocery stores. Liam's daycare received calls from strangers demanding the truth. Samuel's board of directors convened an emergency meeting over concerns about reputational damage. Through it all, Samuel remained unyielding. I'm not hiding, he told Anna one night as they watched Liam sleep. If he wants a fight, he'll get one. In the open, where the truth belongs. The day of the hearing dawned cold and gray. The courthouse steps were lined with reporters shouting questions as they walked inside. Anna gripped Samuel's hand tightly, her heart hammering. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about Liam's future and the family they had built. Inside, Maxim sat at the petitioner's table, looking perfectly composed in a tailored suit. He even had the audacity to wave at Anna as she entered. You look well, he said under his breath. She ignored him. The proceedings began with Maxim's attorney painting a sympathetic picture of a man who had made youthful mistakes, but now wanted to be part of his son's life. Maxim himself took the stand, speaking in carefully rehearsed tones about regret and redemption. I was scared, he said. I thought I wasn't ready to be a father, but I've changed. I have a stable job, a home. I just want a chance to know my son. But Laura was ready. She rose slowly, a stack of exhibits in her hands. Mr. Turner, is this your phone number? She asked, holding up a printout of text messages. Maxim shifted in his seat. Yes. And did you send these messages to Ms. Mitchell? She continued, reading aloud. Get rid of it. I want nothing to do with you or your mistake. Here's money. Take care of it. Maxim's face reddened. I was angry, he sputtered. I didn't mean, and yet, Laura interrupted smoothly. You disappeared immediately after sending them. You provided no support. You never contacted her again. For more than 2 years, you showed no interest in the child. Isn't that correct? Maxim fumbled for words, but Laura pressed on. She called Anna to the stand next. Anna's voice shook at first, but grew steadier with each word. She recounted the betrayal, the shame, the long nights alone. He wasn't there for the pregnancy, she said. Not for the birth. Not for a single doctor's visit or sleepless night. He didn't care if Liam lived or died. Until now, when he thinks there's something in it for him. Her eyes found Maxim's. Being a father isn't about biology. It's about showing up. It's about love. And Liam already has a father. He calls him Dad every day. Samuel took the stand last. I love Liam as if he were my own flesh and blood, he said, his voice steady. From the moment Anna and I married, he has been my son in every way that matters. I will fight with everything I have to protect him, not because it's convenient, but because it's right. By the afternoon, Maxim's carefully crafted image was in tatters. Witnesses testified that he had bragged about striking gold if he could prove paternity. A former co-worker revealed that Maxim had recently been fired and was drowning in debt. It was clear to everyone in the room why he was really there. When Judge Harris finally spoke, the courtroom fell silent. Mr. Turner, she began, you abandoned your parental rights long before today. Biology alone does not make someone a father. Actions do. and your actions show only self-interest. She turned to Samuel. This court recognizes you as Liam Carter's legal parent and denies the petition for paternity testing and visitation. Furthermore, Mr. Turner, you will be fined for violating the privacy of this family and attempting to exploit confidential medical information. The gavel struck once, sharp and final. It was over. Anna felt her knees go weak, and Samuel caught her before she could stumble. "It's done," he whispered, holding her close. "He can't touch us now." As they walked out of the courtroom into the crisp October air, the reporters shouted questions, cameras flashing. But Anna didn't hear any of it. All she could think about was Liam, safe, loved, and theirs. Truly theirs. And for the first time since Maxim had resurfaced, the future looked bright again. Winter arrived in Madison, draped in quiet white, and with it came a peace Anna had almost forgotten how to feel. The courtroom battle had left scars, sleepless nights, public scrutiny, moments of doubt, but it had also forged something stronger than fear. Maxim disappeared from their lives as quickly as he had reappeared, vanishing into the same shadows he'd crawled out of. He didn't appeal, didn't call, didn't try again. It was as if the court's verdict had stripped him not just of legal standing, but of the twisted hope that had driven him there in the first place. Samuel's reputation, once battered by gossip and speculation, rebounded with unexpected strength. Headlines that once questioned his worth now praised his resilience. Investors lauded the way he had stood by his family under siege. Parents wrote him letters thanking him for speaking about what fatherhood truly meant. "Funny," he murmured one evening as he read an article calling him a man of integrity and heart. "I spent so long running from this part of myself, and now it's the part people respect most." Anna smiled softly. "That's because they're finally seeing the real you." A week before Christmas, Anna signed the last of the legal documents at the county clerk's office. Liam Mitchell became Liam Carter. She stared at the new birth certificate for a long moment, tracing the letters with her fingertips. "He's really ours now," she whispered. Samuel squeezed her hand. "He's always been ours." That night, as they tucked Liam into bed, the little boy wrapped his arms around Samuel's neck and said it clearly, without hesitation this time. "Night, Dad." The word hit Samuel like a punch and a gift all at once. His breath caught, and for a moment he couldn't speak. Then he pressed a kiss to Liam's hair and whispered, "Good night, son." Anna stood in the doorway, tears blurring her vision. All the battles, all the pain, they had led here, to this small, perfect moment. When the holidays arrived, Samuel suggested they escape the noise of the city. "Just the three of us," he said. "No phones, no reporters, no past, only us." And so they drove east to a quiet lakeside cabin in Maine, where pine trees bowed beneath heavy snow and the frozen lake reflected the pale winter sun. The cabin was cozy with a crackling fireplace and windows that framed the snow-draped world outside like a painting. Liam was ecstatic, his first real snowfall. He tumbled into drifts with squeals of laughter, his cheeks pink and eyes shining. Samuel chased him through the yard, scooping him up and spinning him in wide circles until both of them collapsed in the snow, breathless with laughter. Anna watched from the porch, wrapped in a wool blanket, her heart full in a way it had never been before. There had been a time, not so long ago, when she believed her life was ruined, when Maxim's betrayal had left her shattered and terrified, when every step forward had felt like wading through quicksand. She had thought she was selling herself when she said yes to Samuel's impossible proposal. But now, watching the man who had chosen her and the boy who had given her life new meaning, she realized the truth. She hadn't sold herself. She had chosen love, fierce, imperfect, undeniable love, and she had done it on her own terms. Samuel looked up from the snow and caught her watching. "Come join us," he called, grinning like a boy himself. She laughed and stepped into the cold, her boots crunching across the fresh powder. Liam ran toward her, and she scooped him into her arms as Samuel wrapped them both in his embrace. For a moment, time seemed to hold still. The three of them tangled together under a pale winter sky, the fire crackling inside, the world outside silent and still. This wasn't the life Anna had planned, or even the one she had dared to dream of. It was something far better, a life rebuilt from the ashes, a future born not of fear but of choice. And as snowflakes swirled around them and Liam's laughter echoed across the frozen lake, Anna knew with absolute certainty that this was just the beginning. A year passed, and the rhythm of their lives settled into something solid and deeply good. What had once been a contract forged in desperation had become the center of their world, not because of obligation, but because of choice. Anna and Samuel poured that newfound purpose into something bigger than themselves. Together, they founded the Carter Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to helping single mothers find stable housing, childcare, and education. No woman should have to choose between her child and her future, Anna told a local news anchor at the launch. Samuel, standing beside her, added, "Strength isn't about having everything figured out. It's about building something beautiful out of broken pieces." That's what Anna did. That's what these women can do too. Their story captured hearts far beyond Madison. A year after the court case, the three of them appeared on the cover of Midwest Living, photographed in the sunlit garden behind their home. Samuel with an arm around Anna's waist, Liam perched on his shoulders, all three of them laughing. The headline read, "The Carters, a story of resilience, redemption, and family." It was more than just a feature, it was a symbol of everything they had fought for and everything they had become. When their second anniversary arrived that spring, Samuel insisted on keeping the celebration simple. "No galas, no parties," he told her with a secretive smile. "Just us." Anna didn't argue. She had grown to love the quiet moments most. Pancake breakfasts, bedtime stories, evenings spent watching Liam build towers on the living room floor. Those were the memories that mattered. That evening, Samuel asked her to follow him into the garden. The air was cool and soft, carrying the scent of lilacs. It was the same place where, 2 years earlier, he had first proposed their unthinkable deal. Anna paused beneath the maple tree where they'd once stood, a rush of memories flooding back. Fear, doubt, hesitation, and now love. Samuel turned to face her, and for a moment he looked almost nervous. "Do you remember the night I asked you to marry me?" "How could I forget?" she teased. It was the least romantic proposal in history. He laughed, then grew serious. "That night, I was a man trying to solve a problem. I was building walls because I was too afraid to feel anything again. But you tore those walls down without even trying. You showed me what love really is." Her eyes softened. "And you showed me that I was never broken, just waiting for someone to see me." Samuel took a deep breath and dropped to one knee. From his pocket, he pulled out a small velvet box. Inside, nestled in satin, was a ring, simple, elegant, nothing like the ostentatious band from their first wedding. "Anna Mitchell Carter," he said, his voice steady despite the emotion trembling beneath it. "I asked you to marry me once out of fear. This time I'm asking out of love. Will you marry me for real, for always?" Tears welled in Anna's eyes as the world seemed to hold its breath. She didn't need to think. "Yes," she whispered, then louder, laughing through her tears. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." Samuel slipped the ring onto her finger and rose to his feet. As he kissed her, deeply, gently, like a promise, fireworks burst across the night sky. Liam, bundled in pajamas and perched on Evelyn's lap by the back door, clapped his tiny hands in delight. Anna looked up at the glittering sky, the warmth of Samuel's hand wrapped around hers, and felt something she had never truly felt before: peace. The life that had once felt broken beyond repair was now whole. The story she had once thought was over had begun again, rewritten in love and laughter and second chances. And as the spring night unfolded around them, the fireworks fading into stars, Liam's laughter echoing through the garden, Samuel's heartbeat steady against her own. Anna knew that this time, the story was entirely hers, forever.